All right, what's poppin', everybody? Welcome back to the FNB App Academy 2025. I am your host. My name is Karabo Mahol. I'm always thrilled to be walking this beautiful digital journey with all of you guys that is all about unlocking your tech genius and leveling up on your digital skills and, of course, preparing you guys for a future of innovation and entrepreneurship. This is the App Academy, the perfect ecosystem to get you guys kickstarted on developing those winning apps of yours. All right, so we are still well underway in the intermediate phase, and our previous session was covered by Abdullah, which focused on the user-centric of the app development. And today's session will be looking into data management plus analysis. All right, awesome. But first, let us meet the guys behind Checkers 6060, the winners of last year's most innovative solution at the App of the Year Awards.
No, happy, thanks. And I think just again, phenomenal that we got this chance to represent everyone and being here, so thank you for that. Look, the innovation on this app has actually been phenomenal. It's been 2 years in the making for us. To be able to have an app that can have actually two stores allocated to you from a location base, so where you are as a customer, and get two different options serviced via big bulky items in the same day in a confirmed hourly slot. I mean, that is really, really innovative, and the team has been hard at work, from the designers, the product owners, to the testers, to the developers, to the entire delivery team, Agile, RT, I can name all the names here. But I think also just a big thanks to the big support of the visionary and the leadership from a Neil and a Zayla and a Andy side to bring this together, plus the entire team, Rod. I think it was just so fantastic, and it is such a pleasure working on something like this. It's really innovative. So go play with the new app. If you haven't had the app, download it. I think it is world class, it's world beating, and it's definitely I feel it deserved to win this because the team did a fantastic job.
All right, awesome stuff right there by Checkers 6060. Mind you that Checkers 6060 are also the previous winners of the App of the Year Awards. Really shows you how innovative they are, or shall I say innovative. They are, where they keep on pushing the limits and they don't stop doing what they do best. So extraordinary work right there by Checkers 6060. All right, guys, so we love to hear from you guys. Please keep talking to us on social media. Don't forget to hashtag FNB App Academy. All right, so with that being said, let us see what you guys have been up to this week on social media.
Since the App Academy has begun and I've started applying for it, as a person with autism, I've learned a lot about HTML, CSS, and everything to learn about creating for this app, for our first app that I'm creating. Many people in the disabled world can actually do this whole 9-week course.
For me, the App Academy has allowed me to grow from a point where I used to look at myself as a consumer, but now I see myself as a creator.
Me, some people know, I love code, I like read, I'm doing that, and I've had an app in my head that I've wanted to build for like almost 2 years now, and I did not have the skills, honestly. I only knew hypertext markup language, which is HTML, so learning CSS and JavaScript, yawn. It has helped me so much.
The lessons that I learned, I apply it to my everyday life. So, the App Academy has allowed me to grow.
Really, really grateful for the opportunity.
All right, awesome stuff, man. I think it's always amazing to see your guys' reactions on social media. Please keep posting on social media. Never stop. Let the world know what is happening right here at the FNB App Academy. All right, so with that being said, it's time right now to jump into today's lesson. I know you guys are excited. We have all the way in our Cape Town studio the database administrator, Huda, who will be taking us through data management plus analysis. Huda, over to you.
Hi, and welcome to the FNB App Academy talk on data. My name is Huda, and I've been a database administrator for more than 20 years. Gosh, that's a really long time. Oh my God, that means I'm really old. But Database admin sounds really boring, however, it is actually really, really exciting. If you think about how amazing data is and how we use it in our everyday lives, and you might think, how do we use data in our everyday lives? We are literally walking databases. The brain is the most amazing database. Let me explain what I mean by that, using an example that I absolutely love. Imagine you are walking into a bakery or pastry store. Your eyes see the amazing pastries on display. Your nose smells the aroma of freshly baked goods. And your ears hear the tinkering noises in the kitchen. That is all gathering data. Then you think back to the last time you were in a bakery or in this very pastry shop. How amazing did that chocolate croissant taste? You can actually feel and remember the joy that it brought you. So then your brain starts to analyze the data. It takes the stored memories based on where you're at now. Do I want another pastry? Which pastry looks most delicious? How much money do I have to spend? And based on this analysis, you then make a decision. Do I submit or do I resist? In my case, I'll definitely buy one. Is it just me or is anyone else craving pastries right now? So that is an example of how the brain gathers, stores, and analyzes data. We'll move on to a lesson overview next. Today we'll be covering what is data? Why is data important? How is data managed and protected? How is data analyzed? And we'll use banking and other real-world examples. So what is data? The dictionary definition of data is that data is information. In its raw form, data can be numbers, measurements, facts, anything that can be gathered, stored, and analyzed. Data can be sounds. Data can be, in everyday life example, would be data is photographs, social media posts, and emails. In banking, data is your customers' information, the transactions, the things that they do daily. Moving on to the next slide. As an app developer, you'll need to consider certain things when creating your app. The stages of data in building the app would be collecting, storing, processing, and usage. There is a lot to consider, so this is just a brief overview of the considerations. Going into detail with that would take an entire day. So next, why is data important? There are so many reasons why data is important. We will look at 3. Data powers decision making, allows for personalization of services, and fraud detection and security. How does it power decision making? By providing objective evidence that allows individuals and organizations to make strategic, informed choices rather than relying on guesswork and intuition. For example, in the retail or e-commerce, inventory management. A clothing retailer could use sales data from the past year to decide which items to stock for the upcoming season. The insights from the data reveals that last year they sold 40% more lightweight jackets compared to heavy coats, and that is across multiple locations. So the decision that is powered by the data is that the retailer then decides to reduce the number of coats that they're stocking for the upcoming season and increase the variety and quantity of lightweight jackets. So the result is more efficient turnover, reduced storage cost, and increased customer satisfaction due to better product availability. So personalization of services, product recommendations. This is one we're all familiar with. So clothing retailers collect data on customers' browsing history, past purchases, sizes, and preferences. When a customer logs into the website or app, the system uses this data to recommend clothes that match their previous purchases or preferred style, suggest items in their size that might be in stock, and offer personalized discounts on brands that you would typically prefer. The result is the customer feels understood and catered to, and will most likely come back for a repeat purchase. Fraud detection and security. Example, detecting unusual credit card activity. So banks collect and analyze data on every transaction a customer does. Example, the amount, the location, the time of day, the device used, the merchant type, and spending patterns over time. Using this historical data, the bank builds a profile for the customer. And how is this profile used? Suppose the customer typically spends between 500 to 1,000 Rand in the Johannesburg area. And one day, a transaction of 20,000 is attempted in Cape Town. Immediately, the bank will send an alert to the customer. It will temporarily block the transaction and ask for additional verification, like 2FA. This data-driven system helps to prevent unauthorized transactions and keep the customer safe, thereby improving customer trust. Can you imagine what we would do without such security practices in place? The next thing we'll focus on is a small little case study. How is data used in banking? Well, data exists in every transaction. From the time you open your bank account, customer details are needed, your information, where you live, your name, surname, ID number, everything is recorded. The uses of data in banking would be, for example, to authorize transactions, tracking your spend, providing statements, and customer support. Data accuracy is absolutely essential. Can you imagine having one less figure in your bank account? What would that result in? Financial loss, not to mention not being able to pay your debts. One more figure would be great. I don't think anyone would mind that. However, data accuracy, as you can imagine, is vital. Errors in data might occur. Have you ever experienced something like that? Imagine your email address or mobile number is captured incorrectly. If a transaction happens on your account that is not valid, you will not get the notification, and that results in financial loss, and customer trust is lost as well. Therefore, these are things to consider, the importance of data in every aspect of what you do. The next thing we'll be discussing is managing data. Data has a life cycle: collecting, storage, use, and deletion. Importance of access control is also going to be touched on. So we actually have to go into detail regarding the management of data. So collecting. How does one collect the data? Well, data is gathered in banking, for example, data is gathered from customers, the transactions, applications, and third-party sources. So when you open your account, we mentioned this just previously, ID number, address, income, credit card transactions, information, and location, all of that is stored. It's stored in a database like Postgres or MySQL or Oracle, in data warehouses, or in cloud environments. If you're not familiar with a data warehouse, it's a centralized repo designed to store and manage data from various sources. So examples in banking. So the bank stores your profile and account details in a database. Transaction data is stored in real-time transactional databases. What should you consider when storing such data? So security, compliance, and availability. Data needs to be available within a split second. If you've deposited money or transferred money to your accounts, you need to see that immediately. The use of data. What happens? The data is accessed, it's analyzed, and it's used to support the business decisions and operations. So an example in banking would be credit scoring or fraud detection, personalized services, or marketing based on your spending behavior. This is how data is used in banking. How do you plan to use data in your app? Then moving on to deletion. Customer data that is no longer needed needs to be securely deleted. For example, when you close your account, the data needs to be deleted once the retention period has expired. Data is purged from backups and disaster recovery systems. So why is this important, you may ask? It reduces the risk of breaches and saves on security costs. Can you imagine storing a customer's data for 20 years, each and every transaction? It's simply not viable. So another important consideration is the accuracy of data, and we mentioned that before. One incorrect digit or an incorrect email address or telephone number could have severe repercussions. Have you ever encountered a scenario where your data was inaccurate? How did it affect you? So, another important thing to consider is access control in data. So access control basically means who can see what and under what conditions. And it is super important because it protects your sensitive information. Only authorized users can view or modify confidential data, such as financial records or personal information. This helps prevent data breaches and identity theft. Role-based access. This means that different users have access at different levels. For example, the bank teller may only need to see your balance, whereas the database administrator may need full access to the system, but not the customer's personal information. I hope that explains a bit about role-based access or access control and why it is important. It is certainly something you need to consider in creating your app. Who has access to what data? Why is data protection vital? Well, this is a no-brainer, right? When you leave home, do you lock your doors? Why do you lock your doors? To protect what's valuable inside, valuable things or people. The same way you protect your home and your valuables, data needs to be protected as well. Data is actually very valuable. It is extremely valuable. So sensitive customer information like your name, your ID number, and address should be protected. Can you imagine what would happen if it fell into the wrong hands? Can you give me 2 examples? I'm thinking of cybercrime and identity theft. These are very real threats. So it has to be protected. The data has to be protected. So any person, business or organization in South Africa that collects the customer's data must comply with the POPI Act. It's important to be familiar when creating your own app. You need to be familiar with the POPI Act. So we'll briefly explain what POPI is. POPI is the protection of, now I'm getting older. POPI is the Protection of Personal Information Act. It's a rule, a South African law that protects personal information from being misused. So what does it do? It's a rule book that says you cannot collect personal information without good reason. If you do collect it, you need to keep it safe. You cannot share it without permission, and people have the right to know what information you have about them. So what counts as personal information? Anything that can identify you is personal information. Your name, your surname, your ID number, where you live, your medical or financial details. So why is it important? Think of it the same way that you lock your front door. POPI locks your personal information to prevent it from being misused. So we've covered why protection is vital. Let's think of a few ways how companies protect data. I'm going to touch on encryption, two-factor authentication, and firewalls and secure servers. Needless to say, there are many other ways, but for the purpose of this talk, we'll look at these 3. So, encryption. What is encryption? It is the process of converting data into a coded format to prevent unauthorized access. For example, when you are purchasing something online, your credit card details are scrambled so that no one can see it. Only the receiver and the sender have access to this data. Two-factor authentication, I think that's something we might all be familiar with. It requires more than one level of authentication. A password or a PIN is not enough. You have to do one extra layer, and that's adding one extra layer of protection for your data. Then there's firewalls and secure servers. The firewall exists on the network side. It acts as a gatekeeper for the network, scanning and checking which packets are coming in and out, and only allowing things in that are safe. There are rules in place that prevent access from certain places or certain traffic from entering or leaving the network. So how are you finding the world of data thus far? Are these things that you've considered when building your app? Okay, we are nearing the end of the lesson. I hope you're still awake. Can you hold on a bit longer? A bit longer? Did you see what I did there? That was so clever. Oh my God, I'm getting older. What's next? Analyzing data. So what is the purpose of analyzing data? The primary purpose is to gain meaningful insights into your data and make informed decisions based on these insights. Data analysis helps organizations understand the current state and predict future outcomes and optimize for better results. Data analytics tools are used to detect fraud, recommend products, and predict market trends. So some of the key insights data provides are trends and patterns. Trends being a sales trend, if you wish to see how well you do every December. Patterns being activity increases on weekends, for example. Data analysis is used to predict customer behavior, understanding how people interact with your product or service. For example, what features on the app do the users use more often? Or what time of day do customers prefer to shop? Performance measurement. That is to evaluate how well something is doing against the goal. For example, is your marketing campaign effective? What is your system uptime? Data analytics tools can give you insight into all of these. Predictive insight, so it's forecasting future outcomes based on historical data. Example, predicting stock levels and customer churn. We used the example earlier of ordering coats based on last year's sales. That is a perfect example of data analysis at play. There are many other things that it's used for, but however, we will stop there for now. Some data analysis tools. Which tools are used to analyze data? We'll start with a very basic tool like Sheets, Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. They are widely used for basic data analysis, filtering, sorting, and simple visualization. You also get data visualization tools like Power BI, creating dashboards and reports that effectively communicate data insights. You get business intelligence platforms like ClickSense and Looker that offer more advanced features for analysis, reporting, and self-service analytics. There's also cloud-based analytics and programming languages like Python and R, which are used for advanced analytics, statistical modeling, and machine learning. ETL tools are used to extract, transform, and load the data from various sources. That is, the perfect example would be for a data lakehouse. So those are some of the data analysis tools. Needless to say, there are many, and it completely depends on your requirements and your needs. Okay, the everyday impact of data. So this is a very real-world example. Google Maps. My goodness, I would die without Google Maps. Okay, sometimes it's a bit inaccurate, like today it made me go around the circle twice. However, I do not leave home without checking Google Maps. So imagine driving without it. You would be stuck in traffic, you might be delayed, or you might find that the road you chose has there's an accident on the road that you chose. So that is something where real-time data is used, and we it has an actual impact on my life. Spotify recommending my favorite songs. Spotify builds up a profile. What have I searched for? What have I listened to? What are the genres that I typically enjoy? When I log in, it recommends the next something that I could try. And I'm usually quite happy, I'll admit. Online shopping, suggesting product recommendations. Don't you just love logging on to Takealot and seeing recommended for you, or something on sale that you know that you've had in your wish list? The product recommendations are another example of real life data in use and data analytics. And then banking with real-time account balances and personalized offers. How often do we not log into our banking apps? First, to either transfer, to check your balance, or to, I guess I just check, do I still have money in my account? How long is it until payday? I actually love that it shows you this is your spend that's left until the next payday. It's actually good, so smart. Okay, takeaways and final thoughts. Data is a powerful tool. It has to be used responsibly. A friend of mine's uncle said, with great power comes great responsibility. Does that sound familiar? Managing and protecting data is everyone's job. In business, data is trust. How will these insights shape your app? And what is your biggest takeaway? Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to hear from you soon.
All right, awesome stuff. There you guys have heard it from Huda. All right, so I think our data management plus analysis are very crucial. I hope you guys have been taking notes throughout the entire session. Cannot wait to see you guys putting that feedback on social media. All right, so that's it for today's lesson right here at the Joburg Studios. I am your host, Karabo Mohole. Don't forget to hashtag FNB App Academy. See you guys next time. Now, the next lesson will be focusing on business development. See you guys soon.